Hello everyone, welcome to Game Brigade, and my name is Brian Greer, and today we're going to be talking about Wonderland's War, the Shards of Madness expansion, but it's effectively a reprint of Wonderland's War. We're going to be diving into this campaign, talking about the value behind backing it, whether this is something you could potentially get your money back, or is this a good back, and then the gameplay, and talk about, is this a game that might be fun for you? Stay tuned for that. Let's get going. Thank you to Into the AM for sponsoring my video. If you go to their website right now, you can check out some cool graphic tees. I'm wearing one right now, as you can see. And you can check out these tees and get a bundle for $15 off, and use my coupon code BOARDGAME for an additional 10% off site-wide. Okay, so Wonderland's War, we are day 2, I believe, 16 days to go. There are over 5,000 backers, over $300,000 pledged. This is the reprint, I would basically say, for Wonderland's War, which came out in 2020 from Druid City Games. And this one is going to be featuring a new expansion. It's effectively a mini expansion. And when you're looking at the expansion, I would say this is more of an excuse to just reprint the game. And so we're going to talk about the expansion a little bit and talk about what it's adding into the core game, but we're also going to be talking about that gameplay mechanics. Wonderland's War, on top of it, like by itself, was a very highly rated game. I have had a chance to play it, and I very much enjoyed it. In fact, it was one of the first games in a while that I've played where I said, man, this was actually really enjoyable, to the point where I was like, man, I actually wish I backed it. I skipped on the first Wonderland's War. I just wasn't totally sold on the idea, and I figured I'd wait for a retail version. We'll talk about the retail versions as well later in this video. But the overall gameplay of Wonderland's War is a very interesting bag building system, but also on a rondel where players are going to be competing for different types of cards. And then there's going to be an area control like battle system on different locations throughout the map. So let's kind of talk about that, and then we'll talk about the Shard expansion and what it's bringing. So in Wonderland's War, you are going to have these 5 different characters. They're also including a rework of 2 of the characters, the Mad Hatter and the Jabberwock. Both weren't as well balanced as the other ones were in the core game, so they are going to rework them, maybe bring them more in line, readjusting their power levels to make everything a little bit more competitive and not so one-sided, potentially. Now, that isn't something that a lot of people have experienced, but when you do read, like, say, the Mad Hatter, and you look at his abilities, they were all very positive. There was not much drawback from using him compared to some of the other characters, which might make some more work to get some of their abilities to trigger properly. So you have these characters. Each one has an asymmetrical power, basically listed up here on the top about what they do. And of course, they have their abilities that you can unlock and have access to through leveling up the characters through the course of the game. So what is the game? Here are the main player board. This is where the core of the game will take place. And in the center, you have the tea party. And the tea party is going to have cards laid out across these different chairs, and the players are all going to start here at the head of the table. And in turn order, they're going to go and land on a selection. They're going to land on a chair, and they're going to be drafting the card. Now, that card will have different kind of symbols on them. Let's see if we can see some that have some symbolism on them. They might not show any. That's kind of a shame that they don't actually show you what the cards would look like. They have them all face down. Well, I guess you could see it. So up here, you probably can't see it very well. But on the top left, they have like a supporter number. Those are going to be supporters that you send to the battlefield that you need for surviving conflicts. And then in the center, you are going to be getting these chips added to your bag. And so you're going to be building kind of like an engine building system of your bag as you try to form different combinations. And then other players are going to be moving, where I move that board, are also going to be moving along the board. And at some point, if you have to come back around, if there's a card that you missed, or if there's something else you want to pick up, if you come back to the head of the table, it's going to refresh more cards, which is great. And then you can pick something up, but then it's going to add some madness to your dice, to your section, and that's not what we want. So overall, the system is great. We actually didn't finish the combat. When you go here, you're going to have, then there's going to be a system of combat. So each of these locations are going to have conflict, and they are variable in terms of the point scoring. There is little charts that you place down here, 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 and whatnot. Actually, you can't see my mouse. On each of the locations, there's going to be charts that are going to show what the value of that location is going to be, like 2 points, 6 points, 10 points for each of the 3 rounds. And those will be variable. They change depending on each game you play. You can move those locations around. So you're going to compete for those, and then you're going to get points going around the track, just like a normal victory point track. So that is the core game, basic, easy rundown. The expansion that we're looking at here with the Shards of Madness is going to be changing some of the cards, the Wonderlandian. They're going to add 24 new Wonderlandian cards. I believe these are going to fully replace the other Wonderlandian cards that are coming in the core box. So you could play with either or, but these are going to give a little bit more options that deal with the madness mechanics, so something that you could play around with. You're going to have 10 new quest cards. I believe these are just quest cards. You're going to shuffle right in with the other ones, adding more variety to the quests. And then they're going to have a starting battle reward. It'll be something that can move around the battlefield, basically saying, hey, when a battle occurs here, this is what's going to occur when that happens. So in this regard, you get the winner in this region will gain 1 shard to each opponent in the game. So that's the expansion. Very small, very basic. Basically going to give some modularity to the gameplay components and also adding more options to the core game. So let's break down the total costs of this game. First off, the most important thing we need to talk about, there is no more retail version of Wonderland's War. They've cut that pledge level out, so that $50 pledge level from the previous campaign is no more. So now we're looking at the Deluxeification Edition, which is the one that mostly people wanted in the resale market. So if you're looking for potentially reselling this game for your value, or if it's a game that you want to have some hedging your bets in terms of this might not be for you, the Deluxeification Edition was generally the one you wanted anyways. So $115, they get you the 5 faction boards, they get you the cardboard standees, cardboard little chips that you can use to draft. You got the board, you get all the Wonderlandians also with cardboard standees, and just, standard components. These are all things normal. But wait, there's more that comes with the Deluxeification Edition, and this is what people were wanting. You're going to get the game trays insert selection as well as the miniatures that come with the game to replace all those cardboard standees. My opinion on the cardboard standees versus the minis, the cardboard standees are probably just fine, but unfortunately there's no more retail version, so you're going to get the minis regardless. But I actually really appreciate the cardboard standees on the system, so if there was an option to just have the cardboard standees, I would love to have that and save some money in the long run. But unfortunately with this current system, it's not going to happen. Okay, so we're going to go on. So yeah, you get those 5-liter minis. These minis are cool and they are chunky, so I will say that there is a cool feature to that. But again, it's just, they're gray blobs and they're not really used. You just kind of place them on a battle section and then you just sit there. It's not like you're exploring a dungeon. You're not playing with this miniature for multiple sessions. It's just kind of a one and done thing. Same with the Wonderlandians. Half of these guys you don't even see because they might not get drafted or they don't get put on the board during the 3 rounds. So a majority of them, they don't even come up. So that's also an unfortunate aspect. But you do get the game trays full on Deluxeification insert, which is great, and they have some cool options to make it so it's easier to place things in and out. These are the wooden meeple supporters. These are the supporters that you put onto the battlefield that I was talking about with the little number at the very top of the card to basically get support on the field so you can compete in those battles. And that's it. So then we have some add-ons in terms of the cost. So the Shard Mini expansions, $15. The premium clay chips, $50. Now, I was going to say I would be very happy with just the retail version, but the one Deluxeification upgrade I think is a must with this game are the premium clay chips. I've experienced the premium clay chips. I've loved the feel of them. And compared to the cardboard, they're just not the same. It's just it's a better, more tactile experience with the premium clay chips. So I would highly recommend picking these up if you're looking at picking up the game. Unfortunately, you're going to be looking at a higher cost with that because the Deluxeification cost is $115. Then you're going to be looking at an additional $50 or more if you want to get the higher pledge level that includes kind of everything. And that's the one right here, the Wonderland's War Deluxe game, premium chips plus mini expansion, all the bits, $180. So why back now? What are we looking for? The big thing is the deluxe availability. They're saying that they are no longer going to be doing any more retail runs for this game. So anything that's in retail will be retail, and those are the last print runs. Anything remainder will be sold on their web store or sold at conventions. Otherwise, this is it. And the next reprint is going to be a ways down the road because they're going to have to do their next Bloodstone campaign, then most likely we're going to see another Tidal Blades campaign, and then we might see another Wonderlandians War. So it could be a year to 2 years before we even see another reprint, most likely closer to that 2-year mark for this game. So if there is any kind of scarcity with this game in terms of something you might be interested in, understand it might be a while before we get another release or printing for this, and there's not going to be a retail release. So the only retailers that are going to have this are the retailers that backed through the Kickstarter, and I'm pretty sure they cap the amount of games they allow for retailers at a specific number. So they're not going to have a lot of volume in the retailer market. They do say best price. The post-campaign prices will increase in the obviously aftermarket. What we're talking about here is the post-campaign pricing will increase in the PM. So if you are a late backer, if this is something you did not back at least $1, when you go to the late back section to pick up this game later, there is going to be a price increase across the board for all the components. But if you back in at least $1, which is where I'm at right now, you lock in that PM price, so all these prices will be the same when you go to the pledge manager. That way you can check out the shipping, check out all the costs, and see if it's something that is more better for you. And then retail is currently on plan. We talked about that. I want to talk about real quick as well the aftermarket costs when this game came to was delivered and you wanted to buy this game. Say you missed it, you missed the opportunity to pick it up. What we saw originally in terms of the prices were games in around the $200 to $250, all the way up to $400 for the deluxe, all the premium chips. Now, when I check out eBay, it looks like they are roughly around that $300 mark right now. That could go up once that supply kind of dries up, and then we have another shipment. But you're looking here for the $180 cost. Alternatively to eBay, it's about $300. So there still is that price differential that you are going to cover yourself when you're backing this. It's not as easy as it was with the original expansion, because the original Wonderlands War that was shipped had a much better price. The original one was $50. And of course, we're not going to see here. The original one was $50 for retail. The deluxe campaign was $80. So we're seeing that price increase right there from $80 to $110, $115. What was it again? 100 and what? We saw $115. So it's $115 now. The current one, the bit used to be $80. So there definitely was a lot more cushion that we had in protection for ourselves in terms of, is this game not for us? Will I be able to at least make my money back or make a little bit more money on it later? So that's something to be aware of going forward with the costs. It's hard to always know the market's going to do, though. They're always shifting things. They're always moving around. So would I recommend backing this one now? I am backing it for $1, but I am hesitant because of the cost of this game is now encroaching that $200, $210 after shipping. It does make it less palatable than when you're looking at the $115. It's a good game. I very much enjoyed this game. But is it worth $200? That is a hard thing for me to say, especially when there's so many other good games in the $50 to $90 range. Does Wonderlandians War warrant more stuff? Now, another thing to consider is that they are going to be potentially doing another reprint and expansion in 2 years. I talked about that earlier. That expansion, though, they're talking about is going to be a much larger expansion. The only thing we don't know about that, though, is that going to require a bigger box? What's that going to look like in terms of the scope and scale of the production? Are we going to need a much larger storage solution? And if I back this now, am I going to have to replace some of my components and boxes with a new one? I don't know. This is all speculation, but it makes me nervous to move in on this one now when they're offering such a small expansion and potentially telling us that we're having a much bigger one a few years down the road. Where am I going to be? So right now, my backing recommendation, let's go ahead and do main camera. Oh, it didn't work out then. Well, we'll have to fix that later. Let's just go back to this. What is my recommendation for backing? The game is good. I think you'll cover yourself in terms of your costs. If this is something that doesn't fit your family's play style, your game group's play style, I think you can at least get your money back. But the margins are tighter and things are constantly in shift. In terms of gameplay, I very much did enjoy this, and I would play this again multiple times. There were some imbalances within the character boards, and I would like to see those change. Unfortunately, we haven't seen the full discussion about the faction boards yet. They're coming soon for us to review, so we can actually see them clearly and see how do these play over what was originally announced. So that's it. If you want some more content, there's plenty of reviews and playthroughs for you to check out. I recommend checking out all the content before you back something. Make sure you are fully aware. And then the final thing we're going to talk about is the shipping costs. Shipping is a little interesting on this one as well. If we're looking here at the deluxe premium expansion with the mini expansion, this is the one I'd most likely recommend. US is $38. It's pretty high. You're looking at close to $40. So you have that $180 plus $40. It's pretty expensive for the shipping costs here. But what's interesting, if you're looking at just getting the Shards of Madness expansion, the $15 expansion, anyone that's not in this like region 1, so Canada and down, you're looking at paying more for shipping than you are for the cost of the expansion. That's interesting. I would like to see why that's so high, especially when it's just cards. You know, it could almost be just like an envelope, but I'm not sure. You know, I'm not a production manager with this. So that's it. That's my review for Wonderlandians War. Hopefully this video helped you guys make a backing decision whether or not. Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. My name is Brian. I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.